Well, welcome to the Explainer. Okay, imagine feeling sick your entire life, but every single doctor tells you you're perfectly fine. Today, we're jumping into a fascinating case where a totally routine surgery accidentally cracked a lifelong medical mystery, and it was all thanks to one powerful, unexpected clue.
And this quote right here, this is the heart of the puzzle. It's this constant, draining feeling of your body fighting a war, sending out all the classic signals of being sick, that achy, feverish feeling, but there's no enemy in sight. It's a really confusing and, honestly, a deeply isolating place to be.
And we're not just talking about one symptom here. No, it was this whole cascade of unpredictable issues. Can you imagine trying to live your life when your focus and energy could just bottom out at any moment? Or dealing with random aches and pains, feeling like you have the flu when you don't, and this really strange sense of being disconnected from your own body? You're basically living on high alert all the time.
So, naturally, the search for an answer was, it was a long and frustrating road. Doctors did their best, trying to fit these symptoms into boxes they recognized. Maybe it's depression, maybe it's Raynaud's, or hey, maybe it's ADHD or autism. But none of those labels ever really fit. It was like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with pieces from 5 different boxes. The main picture just never came together.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. A small, routine surgery for a hiatus hernia, something completely unrelated to all these other symptoms, ends up providing the first real breakthrough. This was the turning point that changed everything.
The surgery itself was nothing special, but what happened afterward, that was mind-blowing. For a little while after the operation, for the first time in forever, that lifelong fog just lifted. The fatigue, the brain fog, that constant fake sick feeling, it all just vanished. There was this period of feeling genuinely well. And that was the bombshell. It proved the symptoms weren't permanent. They could be switched off.
And that realization leads to this critical question. It changes the whole game. For years, there's this subtle, or maybe not so subtle, implication that it's all in your head. But if a dose of medicine can make it all go away, even just for a little while, well, then the cause has to be physical. And the investigation pivots hard from psychology to pharmacology.
So the hunt was on. The investigation zeroed right in on the anesthesiologist's toolkit. What exactly was in that cocktail of drugs given during and after surgery that could have had such a profound and completely unintended positive side effect?
And when they put the drug list under the microscope, the clues just started jumping off the page. You've got propofol, the main anesthetic. Turns out it doesn't just put you to sleep, it's also known to suppress inflammation. Then there's sevoflurane, which can help reset an overactive nervous system. Even the post-op painkiller, cocodamol, works by calming a system that's on high alert. These drugs weren't just sedating the patient, they were accidentally treating the very condition nobody could even name.
Right, so this is where all those disparate pieces finally start to connect. These accidental treatments weren't random. They all pointed directly to a powerful new theory, one that lives right at the intersection of the nervous system and the immune system.
The leading theory now is this idea of neuroinflammation. The simplest way to think about it is like this. Your brain has its own little immune system, and it gets stuck in the on position. Its immune cells, called microglia, just start pumping out inflammatory chemicals 24/7. And those chemicals are what cause all those classic flu-like symptoms, the fatigue, the pain, the brain fog, but there's no actual virus to fight. The body is essentially attacking a ghost.
So, that surgery basically became an accidental experiment. Step 1, the anesthetic drugs go in. Step 2, their side benefits, those powerful anti-inflammatory effects, kick in. Step 3, those false signals being pumped out by the brain suddenly get turned down. And the result? Temporary relief. It was like someone hit a temporary factory reset button on this hyperactive neuroimmune system.
This one clue just blew the whole case wide open. Instead of trying to squeeze the symptoms into one simple box, the focus shifted to these really complex conditions that bridge our nerves and our immunity. We're talking about things like dysautonomia, where your body's automatic functions go haywire, or mast cell activation syndrome, where immune cells just overreact and flood your body with inflammatory chemicals. It's a whole new ballgame.
And this sentence right here, this is the insight that reframes an entire lifetime of pain and confusion.
The message was suddenly crystal clear. Your surgery didn't just fix your hernia, it accidentally threw a wrench in a real, physical feedback loop between your brain and your immune system. The anesthesia didn't cure it, not by a long shot, but it proved it was there.
So armed with this powerful new neuroimmune theory, what do you do next? You test it. Remember how ADHD was one of those early diagnoses that didn't quite fit? Well, the team decided to revisit it, but this time through this new lens, by trying out a standard ADHD medication, methylphenidate.
And the results were, yet again, another crucial piece of the puzzle. On the one hand, there were some amazing wins, a new sense of calm, focus, organization. But the downsides were just as dramatic, feeling emotionally numb. And worst of all, a really severe crash every single time the medication wore off. So this wasn't a simple win or fail. It was something else entirely. Now, this little detail here might seem small, but it's everything. The fact that the dose had to be incredibly precise tells you something huge. This isn't a simple case of a chemical deficit that you can just top up like in typical ADHD. Nope. This points to a system that is extremely delicate and sensitive.
And that just confirmed the new theory. 100%. That intense crash from the medication, it wasn't a normal side effect. It was the reaction of a fragile, oversensitized system being thrown around by a chemical roller coaster. This body wasn't asking for a jolt of stimulation. It was crying out for stability.
So this whole journey, from an operating table to a drug investigation to this medication trial, it all leads to a fundamental shift in strategy. It carves out a brand new path forward, a path that moves away from trying to rev up a broken system and moves toward learning how to gently regulate it.
And this totally changes the treatment playbook. As you can see here, those high-powered stimulants like amphetamines, they suddenly look incredibly high risk. And the priority shifts completely over to calming agents, drugs like guanfacine, which are actually designed to stabilize the very autonomic systems that seem to be so out of whack.
So the key insight, the big takeaway is this. The goal is no longer just to boost neurotransmitters to get more focus. The real target is to calm down that chaotic, staticky crosstalk between the nerves and the immune system. The goal is stability for the whole system, not just stimulation for one little part of it. You know, in the end, this whole story is such a powerful validation for anyone who's ever felt like their body was screaming a message that no one else could hear. Your body isn't lying. Its language is just complex. And that moment of relief after the surgery, that wasn't noise. It was the signal. It was a flash of light in the dark. And now, you follow the light.
And that leaves us with one last, really important question to think about. For all the people out there living with these mysterious, unexplained illnesses, what if your strangest, most confusing symptoms aren't just random noise? What if they're actually a signal, just waiting for the right person or the right clue to finally come along and decode it?